Hi, my name is Lillian. I'm 58 years old and have experienced 34 years of covert domestic violence, otherwise known as narcissistic abuse. But I'm not just a survivor. I am more than a conqueror in Christ Jesus. If this is your first time, thanks for stopping in. And to get a wider scope of what I talk about here, you can look in the description box. There's a link that says why I'm here. If you're returning, I'm sorry you're walking through this, but I'm glad you found your way here. And you know, I'll always remind you to listen to my content with that one question in the back of your mind. Is my marriage difficult, or am I married to a dangerous man? That's the motivation for this channel, what my marriage was like and how I woke up to the truth that my husband wasn't a difficult, clueless guy when it came to relationships. No, he knew a lot, actually, and that's what makes him such a dangerous man. If you're starting to wake up and think that this might be your reality, please be gentle on yourself. You're about to step on a rough ride of truth. A darkness you've never experienced, but just know that you're not alone. I'm here for you. I hope this channel will be a source of awakening, validation, healing, and will show you how God uses a righteous divorce to free you from bondage of narcissistic abuse in your marriage. As you're listening, if you start to feel overwhelmed or any kind of weird sensations in your body, that means your emotions have been triggered and they're reacting to something that you've probably hidden in your nervous system. Please pause the video, pray, and ground yourself before you proceed. I've listed a couple videos on, I've listed some verses in the description box as well as a couple of videos on grounding basics. When you experience these overwhelming emotions that make you feel like you're going to die, the best option is to press into them and to see what you find out about yourself. Like physical pain is an indicator that we shouldn't ignore for our bodies. Fear is an indicator of what's going on inside of our emotions and feelings, and we shouldn't ignore them either. Sometimes you can't press into your emotions because of circumstances. This is when we have to ground for safety or just for better timing, but never stuff when your emotions or when you're triggered. Never stuff and ignore. It's not good for your body. So today is a continuation from part 1 and 2. I ended off the last video by talking about how the clearest way a woman can see is through her emotions, which come from our abundance of estrogen. But when I was married to a dangerous man, what I discovered after getting out, I didn't discover it so much when I was married to him, although for the last 2 years, I had discovered something. I just didn't know what it was. But I didn't realize the stress mode that my body had been constantly living in throughout the pretty much the whole duration that I was with him. It was living in a stressful environment. My body adjusted, and that became my body's normal. So my estrogen became encased in cortisol, and I couldn't think my best anymore. Cortisol is only concerned about getting you to safety and protecting you, not about emotions, not about relationships, not about feelings. And if you can't feel accurately through your estrogen, you can't analyze rightly with your head. This is what leads to confusion. This is why I couldn't see I was actually being abused. What's interesting is that I believed his talk that led me to believe he would never hurt me, that he would intentionally be mean to me. But my body was receiving a completely different message. My body knew the truth. You can't stop the stress from the cortisol happening in your body. You can't force your head to think one thing while your body knows the truth. That's why I always say, don't think about what you feel. Get alone and feel what your emotions are telling you. When you get mixed messages, one message to your head, then a different message to your gut. Believe your gut. Your body won't lie to you. When you experience confusion straight up or disconnection, which leads to feeling confused, you will often feel unsettled, even anxious after you've been in the presence of a dangerous man. Other times, it can be like you're having a great day, and then he comes home from work, and before you know it, for some reason, you feel emotionally drained and tired. It's out of the blue. There's been no fight or aggression, but now there's just this unknown void of energy within yourself, like it's a nothingness. Dean was a wolf pretending to be a sheep. He always stayed hidden, so he didn't get exposed through his words directly. Remember, there's always going to be, with a covert narcissist, there's always going to be plausible deniability. The only way to see through what is happening is by discerning the inconsistencies and tracking incongruencies. If you will allow your emotions to warn you and listen to them, they will. Proverbs 15 describes a dividing line between a difficult husband and a dangerous man. Kind words heal and help. Cutting words wound and maim. When the dangerous man talks to you, his motive is to confuse you. It feels like you're being overwhelmed and you can't make sense of anything. Or there's the extreme opposite of aggression towards you. He pulls away and there's that void of energy. You feel a void and the aloneness of disconnection, which for us girls, it feels like emotional starvation. Either of these two options, the leaning forward in aggression to confuse or the pulling back in the absence to confuse, either of them can happen in a flash of time. And they have the same purpose: to hurt you, to maim you, or to break your spirit. I shouldn't say or, and you get hurt and maimed, and what happens over a long enough period of time is your spirit does get broken. With a difficult man, he can also overwhelm and crush you in spirit, but he doesn't want to, so his behavior changes. As soon as you make him aware of it and you train him how to talk to you, he learns and changes and becomes less hurtful and more aware of himself and you. He's able to change from thoughtless to thoughtful. His words fit the pattern of becoming kinder with his words. He learns to use healing words that fit for you the best, instead of words that wound and maim. If you guys have problems and conflicts, he's open to solving them and maybe learning new ways to try and communicate. He might not always bring the best ideas to the table, but when you guys do find a workaround, he's totally on board and takes responsibility for his part. Healthy relationships cycle through all kinds of conflicts. But what happens is the pattern of your conflicts over time become clearer and you're able to solve your problems faster together. It's collaborative and you feel connection, which is what communication and problem solving is supposed to do. It's clumsy at first, for sure, but there's a progressive pattern that's healing and maturing for the both of you. That is not the cycle with a dangerous man. Remember, if he's dangerous, he's going to try and get you to believe that he's merely difficult and unskilled because he wants to hide that he is really dangerous. With a dangerous man, conflict resolution, which is actually an oxymoron, there is no conflict resolution because you don't have you're not playing on the same field. You're not even playing the same game. Exchanges with a dangerous man become more deadly, more devious, and more maiming. It's an overwhelming and repeating cycle designed to keep you in a state of confusion. And the pattern doesn't just become more intense, it also becomes more frequently negative and less if there's any positive or encouraging. If I experienced any positive or encouragement from him, it was very strategic in its placement because it was meant to breadcrumb me. It's called intermittent reinforcement. It creates crazy making, which is the word for that is word salad. It's literally an emotional roller coaster ride that goes back and forth ad nauseum. This image rightly describes what I experienced as the years passed by, all the while thinking it was me. By the end, up until the last 3 years, or 2 years maybe, I sincerely believed I was the problem and that he was pretty much perfect. He had projected that much onto me. Let's imagine the two of you are having a disagreement and your husband makes his point in the conversation. And let's say those points are represented with 4 purple dots. And you're trying to connect the dots because you want to follow his line of thinking. So he finishes and you repeat back what he said. You say 4 purple dots and you connect them. But as you're speaking, he interrupts you and he changes it. And he throws a tiny green dot, then a tiny wee orange dot, and then a blue one, and a yellow one. And at the same time, the purple dots get bigger. You're like, okay, wait a minute. You said purple, 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 and purple. But I can see different colors now. He says, what are you talking about? You never listened to me. That's not what I said. We can't even have a normal conversation. You can't follow a simple line of thinking. I said purple, orange, black, and purple. Ta-da! That's the beginning of word salad. Now, the more you try and sort it and follow him and repeat back to him, the harder you try and get more clarity, the more TV static there is. You know the snow on the TV screen? I don't know I haven't had cable for years, but I know when I was younger, when the TV went off the air, it was just static. It sounded like that. You're playing a different game than he is. You are trying to connect and get clarity. He is trying to drive you into a mental fog by confusing you. But you know what you heard. In healthy relationships, it's called a discussion. But with a dangerous man, there can be no discussion. His motive is, well, first off, it's to fight. The fight is the purpose. They love the drama of the fight. And secondly, to prove you wrong. That's the purpose. To prove you wrong, to make you look small, or to make you look stupid, to make you doubt yourself. Whatever it takes to be bigger than you, smarter than you, faster than you, better than you. Whatever it takes to prove you to be a bad person and him the good person. That's the purpose of the discussion, of the fight. The covert narcissistic behavior is meant to totally derail and confuse you, to knock you out of your mental and emotional security. They will die with the lie. It doesn't matter how fantastically outrageous the lie is. They will not give it up. So the only way to keep the peace is to collapse in on your self-respect, your own thoughts, your own mind, and to agree with them. You must diminish yourself to keep them happy, which eventually leads to your death. Mental death, emotional death, psychological death, physical health death, financial death, sexual death, and death of your friendships. The dangerous man talks about what a great husband he is, how honest he is, how much integrity he has, how much better he is than other men, how giving and generous he is, or he repeats conversations which are probably lies and made up conversations that have him elevated as the hero. But you know what? You never actually experience any of it in real time because it's insidious. Instead of experiencing all those actions that he talks about, what you experience is being misunderstood. You feel unloved, you feel no affection, and you feel disconnection. You experience slandering words about his family and gossipy words about everybody, especially the people he works with. In Mark 9, Jesus says, "Don't stop him, because there's no one who'll perform a miracle in my name who can soon afterwards speak evil of me." And in James 9, he says, "Be doers of the word and not hearers only. Perform and speak. Hear and do." Jesus is always pulling together these two elements for us. The talk has to match the walk. The Bible is talking about looking for congruency in people by examining the fruit they manifest. A difficult husband doesn't pride himself on talk because he's a real masculine male. He leans into the follow through of his actions. He lives his integrity and honesty instead of only talking about it. In fact, actually, a real healthy man probably won't talk about it at all. He shows you he's becoming it. When you examine fruit, for us females, it first happens in our gut. You can feel his actions, how they land inside you. You hear with your heart first, then with your head. But your heart has got to be healed, or at least started on its journey to healing. I was not able to discern that my husband was a covert narcissist because of my damage. I was still brokenhearted. That's how I got trapped in domestic violence for 34 years. The next video is going to be about how I was future faked for the last 12 years of marriage. Closing thoughts. First, shh. Don't say a word about this to him. Discovering that your husband's dangerous is a scary place to end up. It's never where you thought you'd be, and it feels like an unreality. But your silence about your awareness of what he really is, that's your safety zone. And always remember, a clueless guy that causes dysfunction and seems difficult, he's not dangerous. But the malignant man is not clueless. He just pretends to be difficult and dysfunctional so that he can hide how dangerous he is.